What's good, y'all? Welcome to a special video presentation from Thinking Football. My name's Thierry, and I'm the voice of the channel. And today, we're coming with something a little bit different for y'all. First things first, I want to give a big shout out to the folks at Holiday Bar for allowing us to utilize this space for filming. It's one of the dopest spots in the city of Atlanta, so those of y'all that live here, come check it out. Normally, for draft season, we take the time to make prospect videos for the most high-profile players declaring, and release these videos on our Patreon. This used to be done on our main channel until we ran into some unfortunate legal trouble that caused us to shift focus. This year, to shake things up, we've decided to create tier lists for the different positions in the draft, giving y'all the lowdown on as many different players as possible, while creating some revenue for us in the spring, because we need that money. We hope y'all appreciate the work that went into this, and any feedback will be greatly appreciated. I'm sure most of you are wondering, what's the methodology here? As a collective, we watched 4 games on every prospect, and using our keen scouting sensibilities, identified skills that we believe will translate to the next level. That's stuff like NFL quickness, route running, hands, etc. Afterwards, we then came together and categorized these players into different tiers based on what we identified. So, without further delay, allow me to begin with the S tier. The sole player in our S tier is none other than reigning Heisman winner, Travis Hunter. What can I say about this man Hunter that hasn't already been established? An athletic marvel who rocked the world of college football by playing both sides of the ball, Hunter is as elite as it gets. A do-it-all style player, Hunter has exceptional athleticism, size, and football strength, making him a danger anywhere on the field. His large frame and long arms give him an excellent catch radius, making him a real threat in the red zone. He has excellent tracking skills and the ability to redirect to offline balls while being a serious one-on-one threat. He also possesses a suddenness that makes him capable of going the distance on something as quick slant or screen, and works hard on scramble drills to be a safety outlet for his QB. He was limited by the type of offense he ran in college, and on tape does have a lack of super technical routes. His release is also too long, and he dances with his man rather than beating him sometimes. Lastly, he does have a tendency to wave his hand a lot and call for the ball. That's not really gonna cut it at the next level. The pros don't want to see you do that. That being said, he's off. In our A tier is pass catcher extraordinaire Tetairoa McMillan. Standing at a towering 6'5" and weighing 212 pounds, McMillan offers a rare blend of size and athleticism that makes him an exciting prospect for any team. His physical attributes are the real appeal, and where he displays the ability to consistently make tough, contested catches. He possesses fantastic hands, and with his combination of height and wingspan, creates a truly formidable target. He high points the ball with regularity and secures catches even when tightly covered. He has elite body control, adjusting to off-target throws, and contorts himself to make impressive catches. He also has surprising agility, showing great yak ability. Once he finds a lane, he hits it with speed and takes the fuck off. He lacks some burst in smaller breaking routes, and his long strides definitely favor longer developing routes. He can run routes underneath as well, but sometimes he gets jammed when not running directly at DBs. He needs to refine his technique against press coverage and develop some more effective hand usage to avoid disruption at the line. And he could have some slightly better vision for yak plays. That being said, McMillan is truly an A-tier receiver. All right, so for our B tier, we decided to divide it into 3 subsections to make it a little easier, because we had a lot of guys who we thought were really classified as B-tier type receivers. So in this tier of plus guys are gonna be dudes with some amazing upside, who are most likely to be starters at the next level, but who we view as not being polished enough with certain traits to be considered A-tier guys. All right, and in the B-plus tier, we have Alec Eyomanor, a big-bodied receiver with some explosive tendencies. Eyomanor is a guy who can make plays at all 3 levels of the field. His size makes him a consistent threat in the red zone, being targeted on fades and jump balls with regularity. A smooth route runner, he often explodes out of his cuts and has the elite acceleration to leave defenders in the dust. Due to his size, defenders often struggle to bring him down, requiring multiple guys to tackle him. Probably the best blocker on tape amongst all receivers in this class, he's somebody who truly relishes the opportunity to get physical and just get into some contact. He's one of the only players in this class with tape dominating against Travis Hunter, having a 200-plus yard performance on damn near the entire Colorado secondary. Sometimes he drops balls when he's open, however, showing a need to improve with his concentration. And next up in the B-plus tier is Xavier Restrepo. A demon in the slot, Restrepo might look small, but he packs a powerful punch with a polished skill set to boot. A technical route runner, he dazzles underneath with fluid and shifty routes, shaking man defenders while also showing a great understanding of zone. His height might limit him from playing outside, but his foot speed, strength, and catching ability make him deadly on the inside. He has a much smaller catch radius due to his frame, but he can pull in anything within his range, showing off-balance catches and the ability to play through contact. He's got some yak moves, but he's quicker than he is fast, dodging defenders rather than outrunning them. And press coverage, honestly, is sure to give him some fit to the next level, but we expect him to be able to fight through it. And I know he's been in the news lately with that 40 time. Don't even bother that, because we don't care how fast you run with no pads on. Remember that. All right, and last up in the B+ tier is Luther Burden III, a versatile receiver known for his explosiveness and ability to make a play in various offensive roles. Burden III combines speed with agility, making him a threat both as a receiver and out the backfield. He has explosive yak ability with impeccable vision, as well as shiftiness and burst. Plainly, this is just one of those dudes who's a danger with the ball in his hands. Give him the ball and get the fuck out the way. As a route runner, he could certainly improve, sometimes rounding routes and trying to get there quickly instead of properly working through them. He possesses decent hands, but doesn't thrive when balls are contested. His production fell off greatly when the number of offensive weapons decreased on his team, indicating that he probably can't operate as your team's best receiver. That being said, this is a dude that is extremely dangerous. All right, next tier for you guys is the B tier. These are the guys who are solid and display the ability to be immediate contributors in the pros, but they might have played against some weaker opposition, or their athleticism might not be as elite as the other guys we just mentioned. So we've placed them a little lower. First up, a guy who it feels like we've scouted for 3 straight years now, Emeka Egbuka, the next Buckeye receiver in line to go pro. Egbuka is a decently refined prospect with solid route running and reliability in high traffic areas. He has a precision game. He understands how to attack leverage. He understands how to manipulate defenders with subtle movements and create windows for his QB. He's not the most explosive, but his short area quickness and footwork make him a nightmare to defend in the intermediate. The main concern with Egbuka is really just a lack of elite deep speed and outside versatility. He also has a limited catch radius due to his lack of elite length and needs to improve on his blocking. Everybody knows Egbuka at this point. He's a really, really solid guy, just doesn't have that high of a ceiling compared to the other guys in the A tier. Coming up next, we've got Ricky White III, a shifty and athletic receiver who's a danger with the ball in his hands. Ricky White III is a receiver capable of playing at all 3 levels of the field, being a reliable target for UNLV. A clean route runner with some elite acceleration, White regularly creates separation and succeeds in one-on-one matchups. He showcases the ability to secure balls, even with a man draped over him, and does a great job to get inside position on his routes. He's tall and solidly built, and he's tough to bring down, requiring a gang of defenders almost every time he had a yak opportunity. The biggest question with Ricky, honest to God, is that quality of competition, because those Mountain West defenders, putrid. They often seemed incapable of keeping up with his athleticism, and, honest to God, he just looked like he was so much better than them. It makes it tough and difficult to evaluate guys like that, but look, what was on tape was extremely solid. Next up is Jaden Higgins, a big, long X receiver who fits the mold of a number 1. Jaden Higgins has a massive frame that gives him a wide catch radius. He has the ability to make catches high, low, outside, and over defenders. He has soft but strong hands, often making tough and contested catches. He's a vertical threat that stretches the field, and Higgins is a back-shoulder baller. He's also a strong blocker who uses his size to beat up on smaller DBs. His combination of verticality with size make him an ideal outside threat in the pros, but he doesn't create much separation on his routes. Too many catches seem to be contested. And honestly, he's not much of a yak threat, having limited moves with the ball in his hands. Coming up next, Jack Beck, a smooth-ass route runner with the uncanny ability to consistently find holes in the zone. Beck is a consistent receiver with surefire hands. He's equipped with a 6'2" frame, being tall, he regularly high points balls, and even shows the ability to secure balls when they're low and out of reach. He creates good separation on his routes and is comfortable at all 3 levels of the field. This is another tall guy who's tough to wrap up. He often requires a bunch of defenders to bring him down, making him a really good yak threat. The high amount of route diversity that he showed in the offense allowed him to showcase stutter steps and double moves, which he utilized to his advantage on longer developing plays. He doesn't possess elite speed, and honestly, the quality of competition is another big question mark because, man, those Big 12 DBs are bad. That being said, this is a dude we see being a very solid contributor at the next level. Lastly, in this tier is Daniel Jackson, a possession receiver that plays bigger than his average size. He's got some of the most ridiculous contested catches you'll see and can create legit separation. Daniel Jackson has an understanding of how to sell routes and snap into boundary spaces, showing the motor to fight for first and bring the pop on defenders. In terms of route running, he sometimes takes false steps and could do with learning to vary his release better. He doesn't have that elite pace to catch up to long balls, and he needs to learn to stack corners better on those longer developing plays. But this is another tall, solid guy. He is a valuable outside threat for any team. All right, and next up is our B- tier. These guys show the ability to potentially be immediate contributors, but are going to require some refinement before seeing the field. First up, Matthew Golden. An easygoing route runner, Matthew Golden looks smooth in his movements, sinking his hips in and out of cuts, and helping find space in defenses. He plays bigger than his 5'11 frame, with long arms and a want to high point, but with inconsistent hands and too many bobbles. He showed up big down the stretch for Texas in the playoff when the competition got better, showing the ability to rise to the occasion. Straight line speed is lacking on tape, not showing up on fades or goes. Doesn't vary his pace enough to lose man coverage, and lacks some zippiness underneath that'll hold his game back. And honest to God, this dude releases like Big X the Plug, taking way too many steps and curving his outbreakers way too often. Next, in our B- tier, is Jaylen Nowell. Operating mainly out the slot, Jaylen Nowell is a speedster route runner who gets in and out of breaks very fast. Also is incredibly twitchy, cooking defenders in man coverage. He's the fastest man on the field at any given time and was arguably the most important player for his offense. He's a master at getting open over the middle and showed strong ball tracking and vision with good hands. This is a player likely to see lots of special team snaps as a dangerous returner. He played against these putrid Big 12 defenses, so NFL DBs could honestly be an issue for him. If he doesn't beat his defender off the line, he can get jammed and disrupted by physicality. Also, he's not a strong blocker. Look for him to be more of a deep threat, slot guy at the NFL level. Lastly, we got Tre Harris. Starting the season with 1,000 yards after 6 games before injury, Tre Harris fits the mold of the big-bodied outside receiver who can take the top off a defense. This guy was on track for a very special season. He has long strides, and that allows him to take these in-breakers the distance, but he's not a real shifty player. Physical corners could cause him issues, and his role at Ole Miss was really limited and did not really allow him to develop his route tree. He feels like a one-trick pony for now, and he needs some more time to develop his game fully. That being said, Tre Harris is clearly a very dangerous player. And next up, we have the C tier. C tier is going to be guys who were productive at the college level, but who displayed some type of deficiency that we feel could be a big detriment to their ability to succeed in the pros. We're going to split the C tier up into 3 sections too, starting with the C+ tier. First up, we got Ty Felton, a player who was top 5 in receptions for the entire FBS in 2024. Felton is a guy who's used to getting the ball often. He was targeted with screens and asked to take them the distance. He possesses that acceleration that allows for him to be a positive yak player. He was used on the outside and in the slot, and he excels at those in-breakers and digs, really doing well with those 90 cuts. He operates well in the intermediate, but I wouldn't necessarily call him a good tracker of the deep ball. And he struggled mightily in his biggest matchup of the season against the Penn State defense, where physical DBs caused him some serious trouble. And if those DBs cause them trouble, NFL DBs are likely to cause even more. And lastly, for this tier, we have Kyle Williams, uber athletic receiver with elite acceleration. On tape, he took the fuck off on regular wide receiver screens for 60+ yards, and he regularly leaves defenders in the dust. He shows good body control and keeps his feet inbounds on sideline plays. That being said, in that Washington State offense, he really lacks route diversity and, truthfully, had lots of screens and out routes. He doesn't show the desire to block, and he does lack technique as well. And quality of competition was a huge question mark, as these Mountain West defenders, honest to God, just seemed a level below. Next up, we're going to look at Tez Johnson. Now, Tez Johnson is a guy who was a 2-year starter at Oregon. He transferred from Troy to play with his brother, Bo Nix. He's a pure slot receiver who's shifty and as slippery as a wide receiver can come. He's a crisp route runner. He's quick out of his cuts. He knows how to temper route speed to get open, and he understands where to sit in the zone and get open on scramble drills. But truthfully, he's limited. He's really only a slot guy. He has a small frame, and he struggles against physical DBs. And let's be honest, what he experienced at the college level won't be shit compared to what he's going to see at the pros. He also has a limited catch radius and struggles with concentration drops as well. Next up in the C tier, we have Savion Williams. A versatile and athletic player, Savion Williams operated as a Swiss Army knife receiver for TCU. Lined up primarily on the outside, Williams also played in the slot and sometimes even lined up in the backfield, where he was used on a number of jet sweeps and wildcat-like plays, being moved around the offense to showcase his quickness and acceleration. As a route runner, he makes sharp cuts and creates separation with regularity. He also shows the ability on tape to make catches at the highest point, rising over defenders to make some pretty big plays. He also excels in the intermediate, finding holes in the middle of the zone. He has some drops on tape, and definitely needs to improve his blocking technique by a lot if he wants to see the field. That being said, Savion Williams has that athleticism that NFL teams would want to see. And next up in the C tier is Jalen Royals. An all-around receiver, Jalen Royals was operating across the formation at Utah State in their air raid attack. Asked to work in the underneath, he showed a great ability to cut open on slants or curl into space, always making sure to catch with his hands. He's got burst to his game when he finds space and can use it to run away from the defense when the path is clear. Although he lacks the initial lighting burst to threaten deep off the line with consistency. Now, Jalen Royals does struggle with letting DBs into his frame, particularly on the boundary and in press coverage. His routes at the second level can leave you desiring more with too much roundness, and for someone who moves with power, you'd wish he would break more tackles. You break some, but not enough. We want to see more, dude. You're big as hell. He also has inconsistent blocking, both from a technique and effort standpoint. All right, and next up, we have Torrey Horton of Colorado State. A long-framed and fluid athlete, Horton shows promise, but lacks in key aspects that would likely see him struggle. Torrey moves great, with speed and sharp cutting all a part of his arsenal. He shows nice work to get in and out of breaks, and all of that sets up an ability to go over the top. He also shows a willingness to run physically and with good concentration on behind balls. All that being said, he sometimes shows a lack of pop and willingness to block, not even throwing his body in the way sometimes, which is like the bare minimum for a wide receiver. His long frame translates into one that's easily knocked off of routes, and sometimes he just gets manhandled at the point of catch. Also in the C tier is LeJontay Wester. A rapid mover in a small frame, Wester's roadrunner feet have him leaving corners in the dust, both on sharp breaks and when getting in behind. He accelerates and takes off like an NFL receiver, bending corners for big gains when moving at speed. However, he is really small, weighing just 160, and offered nothing in contested catch or jump ball scenarios. His size limits his catch radius too. His release when not facing press can be lazy, false stepping far too often, and his route tree is very limited in Colorado's RPO-heavy offense. Next in our C tier is Jordan Watkins. A feisty slot-build receiver that benefited from Ole Miss's spread-out approach, Watkins flashes NFL traits, even if his ceiling is a little limited. He was quick in and out of cuts, moving with urgency and understanding. Plus, he has the get-behind speed to threaten the defense, and paired with nasty double moves that saw him burn multiple corners. His small size means he lacks catch radius and doesn't have the extension to bring in offline balls many big wideouts have, resorting to too many body catches. His size allows him to be pushed around too, especially boxed to the sideline when playing wide. His tracking on deep stuff, particularly fighting through contact to try to make these contested balls, was also severely lacking. Last up in the C tier, we have Isaiah Bond from Texas. A tight and crafty route runner, Bond flashed but lacked production. He was sharp in and out of his breaks like an NFL wide receiver, showing a great feel for how to vary his pace throughout the route, lulling corners to sleep, and surprising them with rapid acceleration. He also had a feisty streak, able to throw off DBs, and with his quick feet was also a really good yak threat. However, Bond struggled with his release and is a potent false stepper, opening his chest to DBs off the line with too much frequency, and his catch radius leaves a lot to be desired, struggling with some of those offline balls. And his over-physical nature got him called for a lot of offensive pass interferences. Can't have that at the next level. Bond's production was lacking, but there's definitely something there for an NFL team. All right, and coming up next is our C- tier. So this next tier is for the guys who we think have potential, mainly as deep threats. They don't possess the ability to be every down type of receivers, but with some good coaching and some stellar development, hey, who knows? So first guy up is going to be Elijah Badger. A slot guy turned deep threat, Elijah Badger was a 5-year player who showed good ability to vary speed and change gears through cuts to lose defenders. He has the next gear he can climb to go past DBs, as well as having good ball tracking while having the desire to use his hands. He's hesitant to run through sharp cuts and was pretty much only used on deep routes in college. He shows his body, but has no technique on blocks. Not many good blockers in this draft class, gotta be honest with y'all. Next up is Kobe Hudson. A consistent producer over 5 seasons, Kobe Hudson moves like an NFL player and has parts of his game that look professional. He understands how to vary pace on his routes, and his in and out cuts do a great job of lulling defenders to sleep, and he changes directions effortlessly. His hands, however, are inconsistent, struggling with drops, and he has a tendency to catch with his body instead of his hands. He also struggles when defenders are near and has too many false steps in his releases. All right, and our next player is Jacoby George. A trusted target for Cam Ward, Jacoby George was a solid receiver for Miami who knows how to run clean routes. More of a possession guy than the rest of the dudes in this tier, George thrived in the short and intermediate for the Hurricanes. He utilizes body feints to effectiveness and creates decent separation on his routes. He shows the ability to operate over the middle and is unafraid of contact, regularly getting lit up and still holding on to the ball, which is something that I really respect. Problem with Jacoby, he lacks explosiveness and has a slow release, and honestly, like everybody else, needs to improve his blocking technique. Last up is Caden Prather. Caden Prather operated as a deep threat for their offense. He has good ball tracking skills on deep passes and regularly goes up to catch balls at the highest point, thriving in those one-on-one outside situations. He seems unbothered by press coverage and shows the fight to drive through contact and create small separation. Not much of a yak threat, he shows questionable decision-making when the ball's in his hands. Sometimes he rounds out routes too much, and like many others in this class, does not show much ability to block. All right, and next up, we have ourselves the D tier. These next few are going to be players that we view as decent depth pieces for an offense who can fill in when injuries occur and can be reliable bodies on special teams. First, we got Rock Taylor. A tank archetype, Rock truly matches his name. He operates at all 3 levels as an X-model receiver with a good understanding of how to work underneath. He lacks burst out of his cuts, and when attacking deep, requires too much time to get to the next gear. He's not much of a yak threat, and he's manhandled far too much for somebody of his size. Next is Pat Bryant. A large guy operating in a run-first attack, his large frame allows him to extend and shrug off opposition. He shows a nice release package to dodge the press and run with extreme effort. Technically, though, he's not very sound, having skiddy cuts and struggling to stop his momentum. He runs his routes at one pace and lacks the burst to really threaten behind. Honestly, this guy's biggest problem is he lacks overall NFL speed. Next up, we have Sam Brown Jr. from Miami. A smaller receiver who operated in the slot, Sam Brown Jr. was a primary deep threat for the Hurricanes. He's got good acceleration, allowing him to fly by defenders on fades, but he struggles against any type of physicality, dropping balls when defenders are near and just having some real serious ball security issues. And like most people in this draft class, he needs to learn how to block. Next up is Will Sheppard. A large outside receiver, Will Sheppard operated primarily in the boundary, but didn't run a high variety of routes. He runs the hitch nicely and loves the end zone fade, showing soft hands over the shoulder. But he has a lack of quickness and change of direction, and not much of a yak threat. Has a slow release and also doesn't work back towards the ball, which will be a problem at the NFL level. Coming up next is Chamir Dyke. A solid intermediate threat for Florida, Chamir Dyke operated mostly on the boundary, with deep crossers and deep outs being the majority of his routes. He has an awkward running style and occasionally runs his routes sloppily, and also drops balls at times. Doesn't really have much potential as a yak threat because honestly, he lacks that NFL quickness. That being said, he could still definitely be useful as a depth piece for an offense. Next up is Andrew Armstrong. Productive with flashes, Andrew Armstrong has sharp cuts at 90 degrees, but struggled mightily on stop routes. He possesses great hands and has a good release package, but lets DBs into his chest far too often. He overstepped on routes and is really a one-type runner. He's already 24 years old and spent 6 years in college, so that's definitely going to deter a lot of teams from drafting him. And last up in this tier is Ja'Corey Brooks. A large body with decent production relative to his QB play, Ja'Corey Brooks has some nice skills, but leaves you wanting a lot more. He possesses a large frame that makes him a difficult matchup for smaller DBs, and shows fight to rise up and catch at the highest point. Has a good understanding of improv play with QB, but unfortunately has poor hands and a real lack of zip, which will no doubt deter a lot of NFL teams. All right, and next up we have ourselves the E tier. This is what we refer to as our experimental tier, a list of guys with a slight whisper of something potentially there, but who require some serious long-term development before seeing the field. Starting off with guys that move well. First up, Bru McCoy. Now, Bru McCoy is a big boy with good strength and straight line speed, but he comes from a gimmicky offense. He's got high blocking effort, but his route tree is limited, and he honestly struggles with the press. Next up is Isaiah Neyor. This is a guy with massive size and elite athleticism, showing that those small bits of explosion on tape that you really want to see from a player. But he needs to clean up his routes, and honestly, he was more of a 4th/5th option for the Nebraska offense. That being said, this is a guy, go look at his RAS score, you'll be impressed, I promise you. Next up, Deion Burks. He moves well, but he's small. He knows how to fight for the ball, is a good blocker, but he body catches way too often and has a lack of production that forces him into the developmental tier. Honestly, he's going to need some good development, and he's not much of a yak threat at all. Next is Arian Smith, a jerky outside receiver. He shows fight and tenacity to shake his way free from defenders, but uses too many steps on his routes and has a real lack of polish with too many drops. Next up is Daquan Felton. This is a guy who also has big stature, 6'5", very tall. Probably the second best blocker that I saw in this draft class. He shows that effort, he has a great motor, and he's got safe hands. Biggest thing with Daquan, he lacks that athleticism, doesn't have that NFL speed, and doesn't really have much explosion to his play. But because of that blocking ability, I guarantee someone will take a chance, and you'll probably get some snaps as a kick return guy or just a special teams guy in general. Next in our E category is going to be the skilled guys. And first up in this one is Joey Hobart, a do-it-all slot guy. This is a dude who is versatile, but with a small stature. He's excellent underneath, loves to block, and is actually quite clutch, but he does not do well against press coverage. And he doesn't have that long speed that you would need from somebody of his size. And next up is Konata Mumpfield, a pure route runner with impressive deep tracking abilities. He attacks blind spots and can play across the formation. He has a varied release package, but he lacks that NFL speed and NFL athleticism that'll really allow him to see the field. And next up is going to be Keandre Lambert-Smith. This is a dude who is feisty with an X-receiver build, got good hands, and he plays big and goes up over defenders to get the ball. He also runs stop routes with efficiency and is a real proper NFL blocker, but he has that lack of NFL quickness and lack of suddenness that'll really allow him to see the field at the next level. All right, and next up in the E tier is Isaac Tesla. Now, with Tesla, what's there is really nice. It's just that there's a real lack of it. This is a guy who's athletic and jumpy and explosive with long speed. He operates mostly from the slot, providing a big size mismatch. That being said, he was really more of a rotational piece at Arkansas, and he's already 24 years old. Though we do think he's worthy of a spot in the NFL. Look for this guy to get a training camp opportunity, and honestly, we think he's worth the gamble. Now, this last tier, the F tier, this is going to be for guys who we think just won't be able to make it, be it because of a lack of speed or NFL quickness, or just because they have really bad hands. Because we watch a lot of NFL tape as our job, we want these dudes to succeed, but we identify deficiencies that'll make it so that they'll struggle mightily if they do make it to the next level. That being said, we do wish them the best. Whew, that was a lot of guys. So, that's just about everyone at wide receiver that'll be entering the NFL draft. And what tier we believe they belong to. What do y'all think though? Does this match what you already thought about some of these prospects? Or were there some surprises? Sound off in the comments below and let us know what you think. Thanks again to Cam and the great folks at Holiday Bar. And most importantly, thank you to our lovely audience. We love y'all. Take care. Some wild shit to play at 11 a.m. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's 11 a.m., bro. Y'all are sick. What the fuck y'all playing this for? Yeah. Yeah, let's go ahead and just cut.